And to discuss this further, joining me now is Abdulhakim Mahmout, who is an aid worker at the Turkish Humanitarian Relief Organization, IHH. And from London, joining us is Shea, a researcher and legal advisor for refugee and migrant rights at Amnesty International. Thank you both for joining me today. Anna, I want to start with you there in London. We heard from the UN Special Rapporteur, Professor Yong-Hee Lee, at a news conference condemning the Myanmar government for its treatment of the Rohingya. Do you think this will have an impact?
It's hard to say at this point whether it would have an impact. It's hard to understand what will speak to the Myanmar authorities, given that in recent years the security forces have committed crimes against humanity, and what is happening now has been called by the United Nations to be apartheid, and that the security forces were acting with genocidal intent. So the situation is extremely serious, and it's too early to tell at this stage what impact this will have.
Let me get to my guest in the studio, Abdulhakim. I know you've spent some time among the Rohingya. What are their living conditions like, and what is it that they need most?
Their living conditions are not as good as it could be. Like they need mainly shelters, like bamboo shelters, because at the moment they are living in a tent. So as you know, Bangladesh is a monsoon country. So when there is too much rain, they face really difficulties to stay in Bangladesh in the camps. So I would say they need, the main thing is bamboo shelters for the Rohingyas, and another thing is education for their future, because everybody discusses about their past, but we need to consider their future from now on.
Okay, let me get back to Anna in London. Anna, Amnesty International was particularly concerned about several Rohingya men who were sent back to Myanmar by the Indian government. Why did the Indian legal system fail to protect these men?
Well, I mean, the Indian authorities have, beginning in late 2017, have announced a plan to return to their home countries all so-called illegal migrants. And the Indian authorities have taken a position that all Rohingya in India are effectively not there legally. So this kind of announced plan to basically expel an entire population violates India's obligations under international law. It's not permitted to simply expel an entire population without any fair process.
Another country that's faced criticism is Saudi Arabia. They claim they're following their immigration laws by deporting Rohingya. Is the criticism warranted that they aren't doing enough, considering their enormous wealth and their place in the Muslim world?
Absolutely, yes. Saudi Arabia is also bound by the same rule as India in not being permitted to expel groups of people without a fair process to determine whether those people will face serious human rights violations after their expulsion. And as you say, Saudi Arabia is an immensely wealthy country that could well afford to support many refugees, not only Rohingya, and Saudi Arabia absolutely should implement an asylum policy and grant access to the UN Refugee Agency to these people. And the detention center that we've heard about in Jeddah, where migrants are being held, is very disturbing accounts of arbitrary detention, and these people should be immediately released. There's no clear grounds for these people to be detained at all.
Abdulhakim, what is the IHH doing specifically on the ground to help the Rohingya?
In the field, our main project is bamboo shelters at the moment. We constructed just over 8,000 bamboo shelters. We got 5 childcare houses, which means education center and also rehabilitation. We have got 1 medical camp where almost like 200 Rohingyas get treated every day on average. We also do distributions like food packets, hygiene packets, and also winter relief, cooked meals. So we try to give everything they need to the Rohingyas according to their needs.
Okay, and Anna, what more can the international community do to help the Rohingya? I mean, should they be offering more money, offering asylum, or pressuring the government in Myanmar to do more?
All of the above. I mean, the international community has been woeful in its response to this refugee situation. In 2018, just over 4,000 Rohingya refugees were resettled. That's 4,000 out of a population of just in Bangladesh, there are over 1 million people. So first of all, the international community needs to bring people to safety from countries that are already hosting large numbers of refugees, like Bangladesh. It needs to fully fund the humanitarian response, which it has not done yet. As of late last year, the United Nations appeal fund for Rohingya crisis was only 70% funded. So absolutely it needs to give more money. And as you say, it needs to pressure the Myanmar authorities to have immediate accountability for the crimes that the security forces have committed, and to recognize Rohingya as citizens, which they have failed to do for decades now. So the Rohingya are effectively stateless and are not recognized as full citizens and human beings in their own country.
Well, what about Bangladesh? I mean, can Bangladesh continue to cope with supporting hundreds of thousands of Rohingya refugees?
I mean, Bangladesh should be recognized for allowing these people into the country. In mid-2017, they were already hosting 400,000 Rohingya. And then over the course of 5 months in 2017, another 700,000 people came, fleeing these crimes against humanity and terrible atrocities in their home country. So absolutely, we should recognize that Bangladesh has allowed these people to stay. But on the other hand, Bangladesh needs to do more to recognize these people as refugees. I mean, the government fails to do this. And it has provided some humanitarian assistance, but the basic essential needs of these people are not being comprehensively met, despite the humanitarian organizations that are present. Bangladesh needs to partner more with international organizations, with other international humanitarian agencies to make sure that these people's essential needs are met. And the other thing that Bangladesh should not do is to start repatriating to Myanmar these people, which, according to an agreement signed between Myanmar and Bangladesh late last year, there are plans to start evicting and expelling these people back to a situation which is, I mean, crimes against humanity were very recently being committed. And as we heard from the UN Special Rapporteur, there's still very serious concerns about the crimes being committed against the Rohingya people. So it is not safe for anyone to be forced back to Myanmar at this present time.
Okay, Abdulhakim, why does Turkey have a special concern for the Rohingya?
Turkey always has special concern for all oppressed people all around the world. It's not just Rohingya, but with the Rohingya there is something special from Ottoman period. During the First World War, the Rohingyas have helped Turkey by sending 220 sterling. Most of the people, they don't know this, but the relation between Rohingya and Turkey have started a long time ago. Also, as IHH, we also started working for Rohingyas since 1996. So we had a good connection with them. And after like few crises, we have always tried to be there for them, and we are also trying to do as best as we can with the help of Turkish people and also international community.
All right, we will have to leave it there. Abdulhakim Mahmout and Shea in London, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.